If you're in Seattle, and you need to buy or sell a home, we'll be right there for you. Because we're the realtors that you can trust. So go to ronanddonsitdown.com.
You're listening to The Ron and Don Show on the Ron and Don Radio Network.
Hey, you guys, what's going on? Happy Friday. It's Ron and Don. We're here to talk real estate. We do one segment. We make it short, quick, and fast, just like Ron and us. Anyway, low appraisals. What happened today? What's going on?
Yeah, so this is the type of podcast that Don and I wish we had when we were coming up in the real estate game, because there's a lot of technicalities that happen during a deal. And so we're in a deal right now where we just got a notice of a low appraisal.
Very unusual.
Let's talk about the context of this. What is going on? So when you write a contract, an offer, you're a buyer, and you say, I want to buy your house. One of the things you have to do is declare, how am I going to pay for this house? So in order to do that, you use a form called a financing addendum. And so in that form, you say, hey, Don, I want to buy your house. I am going to get a loan. And you have to describe what the loan is. Is it a conventional loan? Is it a USDA loan? Is it an FHA loan? Like, what is it, a personal loan?
VA loan.
A VA loan. So you have to describe what the loan is. And then you have to say, I'm going to put this much money down. And so you go through there. And then one of the things in there is a thing called a notice of low appraisal. So what does that mean? Well, your lender, the person that is in the bank, and I need to rewind all the way back to before the
But you
housing
can't
crisis.
Rewind too much because we got to go watch the Mariner game.
I understand.
So it's a quick rewind.
Quick rewind.
You're killing me right now.
So before 2008,
oh God, we got to work all the way from 2008. I'm gonna miss Game 4.
Each mortgage company, you could have a guy, an appraiser, kind of in your hip pocket. So let's say you had a tricky deal coming up. It's $1 million house, but you don't know if it's worth $1 million. I could call my personal appraiser, Don, and say, hey, Don, can you go appraise this house?
I wouldn't answer because I'm watching Game 4. I'd call you after.
Wink, wink, nod, nod. It's $1 million house.
Right.
Magically, the appraisal would come back at $1 million. After the housing crisis, that went away. You can no longer have in-house appraisals.
Which is a good thing. Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So it goes to an anonymous third party. So your lender saying, we're going to give you $1 million. I need to know, the underwriter, I need to know that the thing that we're lending on is worth $1 million.
Yep.
So we go out to this appraisal portal. An appraiser picks it up. He or she goes and looks at the house. They try to find some comps of that house. And so they need to tell the lender, yes, this is at value, or no, it's not at value, based on the size of the house, the quality of the finishes, the neighborhood, what stuff is selling for around that neighborhood. 9 times out of 10, or maybe 99 times out of 100 in the Pacific Northwest, the appraisal comes back at value.
Sometimes it comes in over, but coming in under is very unusual.
Yeah, so it's pretty rare, but it does happen. So we're in a situation right now where one of our deals got a low appraisal. So now they just send you a notice. So it kind of opens up a negotiation. So the buyer sends a notice to the seller, says, we got a low appraisal, here's the appraisal. And so now our sellers, you have 4 options at this point. Now we're working within the contract because there's provisions for this, and it invokes all these rules. So now we have 4 options. We have a certain period of time that we can respond to. We click our option and we send it back over to the other side. If it's anything but accepting the low appraisal, they have a period of time to respond to that, and it goes back and forth where either you keep the deal together, you probably have to do a price adjustment, or the other side can walk and get their earnest money back. So it's a very big deal. Understanding how it works is important, and then there are ways to massage this with other things. But in broad strokes, that's what happens.
Yeah. Have we had one of these before?
Yeah, we've had a couple, but not many.
Yeah.
In the hundreds of millions of dollars of real estate we've done, I think maybe 2 times, 3 times.
And
maybe.
the risk is you have the other side under contract. If you check a different box that opens up negotiation, part of the negotiation is that they can walk away and they're no longer under contract.
If you refuse to negotiate with them.
Yeah.
So the sellers can now they have 4 options. One of those options is, I don't care what the appraisal said, take it or leave it. And so at that point, the other side either has to manufacture more cash to bridge that gap with their lender, or they can say, all right, then we're out and give us our earnest money.
That's why when you're souping up a house, you got to really ask yourself, like I was souping up a house on Queen Anne. My house immediately became the nicest house on the block, and it was the worst house on the block. But I saw where the neighborhood was going, and I was willing to hang on to this house for 10, 15 years because I knew this house was heading toward $4 million, but there was nothing in the neighborhood that was at $4 million. Hell, there was nothing everything in the neighborhood was at 2.5. But I knew I'd hang on to this till at least my son graduated from high school. So I said, I'm going to go ahead and soup up this house for where I think this house and what it's going to be valued in the future. So I'm not putting in LG appliances. I'm putting in Thermador appliances, right? I'm going to make sure that I'm putting in engineered oak. I'm going to make sure that the finishes in the kitchen have waterfalls. I'm going to make sure that the appliances, that the roof, it's a metal roof, which is the most expensive roof that you can buy. I'm going to throw another house on this property. This house is going to be a backyard cottage, but it's going to have the same finishes and be a mini version of the big house that's out front. But I took a gamble in doing that. What happened last year is finally we had a home sell for $3.9 million in my neighborhood. My next door neighbor's house just sold for 3.5. So in other words, if I go to sell this house, I know when it comes to the appraisal, I'm in good shape. And I think for this particular seller, he was doing the same thing. But what happened is they didn't end up staying in the neighborhood for as long as they thought they were going to, because there's a job offer in another community that they decided to say, hey, we're going over there. So here we are with the house, which is their house, which is the nicest one in the neighborhood. And the problem is when you have the nicest house in that neighborhood on that block, it's hard to find comps for it. And I think we are in a place right now where appraisers are going to look at things and banks are going to look at things because we can't really see what's happening in the future with tariffs. We're beginning to see some things, though. We're beginning to see some things that aren't good. And just because you don't like the job numbers and then you go out and you fire the jobs person, and now we don't get jobs numbers for a second time because the economy shut down, that makes banks and lenders and appraisers look at things, and they're going to be a lot more reserved, I think, right?
Well, and they're also going to be watching the Mariner game.
Yes. Hey, you guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Ron and Don Show. We sure do appreciate it. We got to go. The Mariners are playing. Over and out.
Well, that's it. Show's over. We'll see you next time on the Ron and Don Radio Network.